The last session for today in our innovation theater will be around a very interesting, exciting story. It's about integrating, obviously, all kinds of solutions across Europe. It's about building new business, but also in the midst of time where we face challenges. Who went through COVID without any issues? Just raise your hand. I went through that smoothly. None of us did, right? So it was hard, tough times. So if you also, in a super fast growing business, like Seven Senders is, you need to adopt. You need to challenge yourself to make sure that you're adopting quickly and diligently, because there's also investors in there. There's other partners, and there's obviously clients that are potentially downtrading. And you have to accommodate that. You have to facilitate that. So you have to come up with cunning, new, fresh, innovative solutions. So I'm super happy to introduce our key speaker for this last session, Thomas Hageman. He is the co-founder and the chief sales of Seven Senders. There's always one question everybody asks. So I'll ask it in the beginning anyway, Thomas. How did you get to the name of Seven Senders? And then the floor is yours.
Are you really asking that, all right? So hi everyone, thanks for joining that late. I said earlier, I've never had a speech that late at 6 o'clock, and super happy to see you guys here this late. Yeah, it's actually a very boring answer, unfortunately, very German. So there's like a 6R rule in logistics where you say the right parcel or the right product at the right time, right cost, right quantity, right quality. And when we founded the company, we were all about the carrier, right? So we do our business in parcel logistics. For us, it's all about the carrier that you use on the last mile to make your customers happy. And that's why we said, okay, we add the sevens, that's the carrier, and then you come to Seven Senders. Yeah? So very straightforward. All right. Yeah, so coming to the topic, when I prepared this, we asked ourselves, what can we present? And after almost 7.5 years, I would say, at least in the German and in the Benelux, French e-commerce world, I would say we are pretty well known. The platform approach of bringing access to all the carriers in Europe is not very new anymore. So I thought, okay, what's actually happening at the moment in Europe? What is the problem for the retailers? We are in a crisis from our perspective, in a demand crisis, and we want to show some innovations that we develop to maybe help merchants to save costs. I think saving costs sounds always easy, but it's not just like pushing on the carriers and squeezing like 10 cents out of the parcel price. There are also some possibilities and levers how you can maybe do it with little effort or not that much effort, and actually substantially saving costs with tech innovation. So this is for me a picture how the Corona crisis looked like. It was very much a catastrophe for the world. It's no question. But if you look at 2020 and 2021, it was also actually a blessing for e-commerce. So everyone who works in e-commerce and is telling me that Corona was bad, then you have done something wrong in your online shop. Yeah? So you could sell the shit out of the online shop. Everyone was selling. And the biggest problems from our perspective was supply. So did you have your supply chain to China, to wherever you got your parcels from? Did you have that under control? Freight costs, supply from the warehouses in China. Second one was, do you have your staff healthy? So do you have your warehouse up and running? We have some bigger clients who have their warehouses at the Polish border, but in Germany. But the staff working in the warehouse came from Poland in buses, right? But if you have a Corona crisis and you don't have staff to pack your parcels, there was a massive problem for some of our clients. And the third one was the delivery, but a different problem than you have today. The networks were just super full, and the capacity was not there, and the performance went just downwards. So that was for us the crisis that was good for e-commerce and bad for the world. And today we see a completely different topic. We still see the supply side, and I will not hold a speech on the supply side. That's just not my business. but a lot of merchants still have a problem to get their products into their warehouses, to get the supply chain up and running from China, for example, China. But the two things that changed is it's not the warehousing at the moment, it's rather the cost side in general. Because at the moment, merchants have to ask themselves, where do you throw marketing money on? How do you actually still grow efficiently in a very broken demand system where also iOS and social marketing is not working that well anymore? Yeah. And what do you do with the costs? So be it fuel prices going up, delivery prices going up. So this is for us at the moment the problem that the industry is facing. And to give you some numbers, we crunched the top 10 online shops of Germany. If I say online shops, I mean the big platforms. I will not say names, but if you take the top 10, so Amazon is also in here, and you compare the site visits April 21 to April 22, you have a decrease in site visits of 11%. So if you assume that the conversion rate stays the same, the industry is basically going downwards. You see the stock prices falling, some of them cut in half, some of them only 10% worth from what they were a year ago, and that is just a problem. Yeah? There are categories that are still working. So for example, if you look at Zoo Plus, one of the biggest online shops in Germany, they're still growing year over year. But especially fashion is having a downwards. And if you wanna keep that cost-wise under control, you maybe have to balance it a bit out when it comes to how do I make my customer happy? How do I get the conversion? How do I keep my NPS the same, maybe a little bit lower in these days? Yeah, it doesn't really matter maybe for 1 or 2 years. But how do I do that with spending less money? So this is what I want to do in the first part. Coming from that triangle, from that problem, supply, demand, and cost to get my profit right. The answer, you have to target still the NPS. And how do you do that? You try to balance demand costs, sustainability, and delivery costs. Why sustainability? It just became, especially among your young customers, it became one of the biggest topics if you want to convert your customers in the checkout. So these two things you can connect, and you'd see also here on the fair a lot of carriers that basically came up in the last years in something what everyone calls OOH, out of home delivery, which can be automated parcel machines like parcel lockers, can be PUDOs, so kiosk or whatever, yeah, and that is big time on the rise because it just has a much lower cost line. So if you look on the cost line, a home delivery compared to an out-of-home delivery 2019, we have a lot of data on that, is roughly 20 to 30% cheaper if you deliver to PUDO. In some countries, it's actually 50% cheaper delivering to PUDO. If you take France, compare a home delivery, maybe Colissimo, to Mondial PUDO delivery, the cost differential is huge. And if you talk to the big retailers, then we are expecting that the price differential will grow to 23, 24, 25. And we expect a price differential of 50%. That just means that, that doesn't mean, by the way, that the parcel PUDO delivery will go down in price, but it can, for example, just mean that the home delivery goes up by whatever reason. So what's going to be in 2-3 years the default option? Are we still going to all be able to afford a home delivery? Can we all afford that we all get our parcels at home? I don't think so, but you need also solutions for the industry, for the e-commerce players to use these PUDOs and to offer it in a good way. If you look sustainability-wise, there has been released a super interesting study in the last months done by Oliver Wyman and the spin-off of the University of St. Gallen. And I find the whole industry and also the retailers are actually not using enough is, and what many people don't know is that a normal e-commerce purchase delivered to your home door is by factor 2 to 3 less CO2 emission than a stationary retail. And many people think that the emission game is played on the last mile, but that's just not true. The emission game is played in the warehousing. So when you have a warehouse with 100,000 pieces in it, let's say shoes, and then you look in a retail store in the city of Amsterdam, you have maybe 1,000 shoes lying in a shop that's definitely not equipped with solar panels. So that's a very interesting study. So what I can tell you, buy online to save the planet. Whoever says something else is completely not right. So if you then look into the CO2 emissions in e-commerce, I split it here in a half, then you see that 50% of an e-com delivery, including everything, warehousing emissions, packaging emissions, you see that 50% comes from the delivery part. If you take these 50% and compare a home delivery process, last mile, to a PUDO out-of-home delivery, you cut it in half by another 50%. Answer is very simple. If you see the trucks driving around the city, they have around 120 to 160 parcels on one tour and deliver it to the doors with a lot of stop costs and a lot of emissions. Whereas when carriers deliver to PUDOs or parcel lockers, you have around 700 parcels on one tour. So this is what cuts the emissions down. And this is also what we think retailers will and have to make clear in the checkout. So to the customers that are very sensitive about this, making sure it's maybe the default option in the future, PUDO, then you as a retailer save money. Yeah, you have to have the guts to do that. But you can also say in the same way in the checkout that if you choose and keep this default option, then you're going to save 50% on the emissions. And this is not offsetting, this is real emission savings. Yeah? So if you use this in the checkout, does it work for your clientele? I don't know. But you will save money, as you saw before, because the cost for an OOH is much lower. And you also do good for the environment. And we believe that the customers in the future will go for this option if you offer this option in a convenient way. And about this convenience, or with this convenience comes a big challenge. So it's a bit of a nitty-gritty slide. Yeah, you don't have to read all this. But if you look on the left side, what the merchants want, yeah, I mean, it's very, very much like a showcase here. But let's say a merchant wants 30% less costs, wants to save emissions, but they don't want to have the big effort to integrate dozens of PUDO carriers, which is a lot of work. I come to that now. If you look what the consumer wants, and you read the studies what they want the most easy to integrate solution in their life. Everyone has a different life. So when I want to integrate something in my life, I drive every day from my flat in Berlin to my office. So easy to integrate means that I want a PUDO, so like a Berlin Späti, that is exactly on my way and where is a parking outside. Or I want a PUDO that's right next to my office, or I want a parcel locker that's exactly next to my flat. But you can't expect from your customers that you just offer one PUDO provider with a low density and then say, okay, I'm going to save the environment 50%, but I'm going to walk 2Ks to the next PUDO. That is the big problem for us about lockers and PUDOs, that every system on its own doesn't work. Yeah. But I can tell you that if you talk to the managers of the parcel companies, they will never stick together and throw their networks together. If they would do this, everything would be solved. But they all want to earn money. They all have their own brands, and it's also all right. So the carriers want and also like the low-cost PUDO delivery because it's just a very nice way to deliver a lot of parcels in a very accurate way and have no-shows at the doorstep of the people. What you see on the right side, also gathering some studies, you will find in Europe around 500,000 out-of-home points. So that's PUDOs, that's, for example, automated parcel machines, parcel lockers. But the problem is that it's not coming, so the good thing for the industry is that it's not from one monopolistic player. So it's not like that 490,000 of these lockers are from DHL. The biggest top tier one carrier, I will not say the name, but there are two top tier carriers. They have around 50,000 out of home points. That's nothing, 10%. And if you want to make your customers happy, you can't just offer one or two of them, because every country has a different top tier one carrier. So in Germany, it's for sure DHL, right? But you maybe want to add Hermes. In France, you have Colissimo with the post stations, Mondial Relais, Relais Colis, Colis Privé, offering all these options. So if you bring them all together, you come to a very dense network, and then you can offer maybe 80% of these 500,000 points. The only problem is, how do you integrate them? And the integration with PUDO networks, it's much more complicated and time-consuming, cost-consuming in your tech roadmap than when you just add one more carrier, print the label, and then it goes to the doorstep, right? So that's the riddle we have been trying to solve with technology, and we have been working on this for quite a while. And what we say is, you have to create an agnostic network with using all the carriers, and by that you create the biggest possible density. And if you have the density, looking on the left side, you automatically get the easiest to integrate solution in your customers' lives. Because if you have all carriers in the checkout box, everyone will find a place to drop off a parcel, because there will be one PUDO, one locker that's next to your house, that is next to your office. And then PUDO becomes something that is suddenly even more convenient than a home delivery. Because if you order a parcel in your PUDO, the E+1 rate will always be higher. The success rate is always 99.9%. And you can make sure, you can be sure when you come home at night that you can fetch the parcel there. Whereas when you order at home, even if you order at Express, you know how it works. You order at Express, you paid 10 euros extra, and then your neighbor took the parcel, and he's on holiday, or he's out that night partying, right? So once you create the densest PUDO network, you can create the best customer experience at the lowest cost and emissions. So how do you do that? We came from this consumer demand, and we always had Seven Senders, when we founded the company, the vision of having a cab parcel platform, but only or mostly with home delivery, and in some countries we had the specific PUDO networks, like Mondial Relais, which is very big in France, for example. So we extended this now and built one plug where customers or online shops can plug into our API and get access to the whole world. So if you look then of the whole EU, sorry. If you look at the customer journey of a PUDO, then you go, for example, in the outbound world, you go in the web shop, you choose your parcel point here, Paris, different colors. Maybe the yellow ones is the parcel points of Colissimo. The red ones are the one from Mondial Relais, and the green ones are maybe Relais Colis. Imagine you have only one integrated. Then the whole map is far less dense. But if you have them all integrated, everyone, no matter where you live here in Paris, you will always find a PUDO, right? By the way, that works even better for returns. Yeah? So if you have all the return options, all PUDOs for returns as an option for the customer, makes it much easier and more convenient for them to return a parcel. So what have we done? Our job was to solve this complexity. So how do you get this carrier layer of all the European carriers into one layer that is just then one plug for online shops? So and this is basically what we have built. We have standardized all the data underlying and put into one layer that is accessible through one pretty simple API. So what do you get? You see it here in the blue and also on the right side. You can connect to this one plug, to this one API. You have all the PUDOs available. What is our job? We make the data governance and the standardization of the data. And I can tell you, it's a lot of work. How does it work? Let's take Hermes Germany. Yeah, they have maybe a flat file of Spätis in Berlin. That's like a kiosk. Yeah, and the opening hours change. So yesterday the Späti was open from from 8 in the morning to 10 at night. And then suddenly the owner of the shop decides that he changes the opening hours from 8 to 8. That is a problem. If someone in your checkout chose the delivery there and knows she or he has to work until 8 o'clock and then wants to pick up the parcel and the shop is closed. And you have that with all carriers. Every carrier works differently. Every shop works differently. The data structure is a different one. And this is basically what we harmonize, standardize, and do the data governance on and provide it through the API. And we are responsible that all the data is right and all the data is available. What comes always with it at Seven Senders is you can print the labels of the carriers. You can track the parcels, be it return or be it outbound. And at the end of the day, we are a logistics company, so we transport the parcels back to you or to the PUDOs. So the one thing is the technological accessibility. So let's say you have a warehouse in Sweden, and you want to ship to PUDOs in Spain, and you want to offer outbound delivery with Correos, Celeritas, and Seur, and this solves the tech riddle, but you still have to get the parcels from your Swedish warehouse to France to the 3 carriers and back. And this is also what we do, and this is basically how we started as a company, what we have always done. Yeah, this is the famous PUDO locator of Seven Senders, and this makes also the first cut in the presentation. This is something where we say, can with technology basically really decrease costs without necessarily harm the NPS and the success conversion rate in your checkout. It's a different approach to just swapping one carrier to the other. And for sure, if we offer this layer, then we never take away the complete layer. So you for sure have to have home delivery as well. But that has always been in our platform, right? So you will always offer Austrian Post home delivery, DPD home delivery. So this is always in the layer as well. But we added here the PUDO. I just let him talk. So coming to the next topic, Switzerland. So why Switzerland for us? Since we founded, it's always been one of the most important markets for retailers. It's still number two country of Zalando. So a country with 8 million inhabitants, you make so much GMV and profit than more than in France, where you have like 60 to 70 million people. It's crazy. So it's always been one of the biggest markets, but it also comes with downsides, right? One of the downsides is that the entrance barrier is a bit higher. So when you see an online shop, .ch, you still see shops that offer a price like 19 Swiss francs 99. That's not good because the Swiss people, the currency has only 5 cents. Yeah? So you have to change it to 19.95. Otherwise, the Swiss people will think, okay, I'm not going to buy here. So that's like the easy localization, right? But then you come to customs problems. Yeah, you have to ship your parcel always delivered duty paid. So you have to solve this customs duty challenge. And for sure, the delivery costs are higher. Showing delivery costs, I took. It's about 10 to 15 million parcels that we analyzed here. If you take as a basis a cross-border parcel to Austria and you normalize it at 100%, then you will already, for the cross-border to Switzerland, because the Swiss Post is more expensive, or QuickPack or whatever, you will already have 70% roundabout more shipping costs to Switzerland than you have to Austria. Whoever ships here to Switzerland, maybe your cost differential is a bit different, 50%, 30%, 90%, 110, but it's really big. And then, in addition, for us, on average, it's around another 23% that you have to pay for customs duties, and you have to pay for the customs process. That makes Switzerland a little bit more difficult business case because what we call your total landed shipping costs are almost double as high as, for example, to a country to Austria. The basket sizes are higher, and you can for sure also with that even it out. So when you come to single customs clearance, you maybe saw this picture earlier. at one of our partners, MS Direct. The one solution to clear your customs is a bulk customs clearance. Yeah. Then you take an example of 8 parcels with one weighs 1.5 kilograms. Then you will pay 24 Swiss francs duties, because the customs duties in Switzerland are based on weight. Yeah. And if you come over the threshold of 5 Swiss francs, you're going to pay 24 Swiss francs. If you would do a single customs clearance, you would clear every single parcel on its own. And in this simple example, every customs duty is below 5 Swiss francs. And therewith, you don't have to pay customs at all, and you land at 0. It's a very placative, very easy example. And it's not always that easy. And what our partner, MS Direct, who's not our only partner, but a preferred partner there, who offers, who has always offered the bulk customs clearance, has combined that. And we say it's the best of both worlds. So you combine the single customs clearance with a bulk customs clearance. And especially in the outbound, but especially in the return process, this can be a big advantage if you use this solution. So if you want to ship to Austria, we're working closely together with Zalando and also with the Swiss Post, who is a partner of ours. We're doing this for about 7 years. We basically combine these two worlds. You get an end-to-end management of your shipping. So we pick it up at your warehouse, we bring it to the Swiss Post, they bring it to the end consumer. We run your transport management from anywhere in Europe. We run the line hauls, and we do the combination of single and bulk customs clearance. Yeah. This sets the cost base low. Yeah. Integration-wise, it's also very simple. We do the work for you. We do the tariffs. So we do the tarification for you. And for sure, what was earlier in the API is also a classic single API point where you can connect to. Yeah. And the last topic is fast lead times. We did this here together with Zalando, but some platforms have very strict lead times. So you have to be in Switzerland in 1 to 2 days or 1 to 3 days. So we're making sure we are in line with the big platforms' KPI levels. Yeah. And for sure, coming to the returns in Switzerland, same problems with the customs clearance. We also taking care of that. You can choose whether you do like an ABC classification of your parcels, whether you just want to have it returned to your warehouse in Switzerland. 30 minutes, Ernst. Well, actually, we started too late, so 28. I guess that's fine.
I'll give you those.
Staying here.
Yeah.
Ernst said I look a bit younger. It's probably true. I aged a little bit in Corona. What can you say? I have here a colleague of mine with me, Sebastian. So if you have some specific questions to the last topic, he's also happy to answer. Otherwise, feel free to shoot out. And for sure, the last solution, we do the same also to the UK. Yeah. So we just took the topic of Switzerland, but in the UK, to the UK, it's a bit different. To the UK, you have a different custom system, but the solution works very similar.
Great, Thomas, and thanks for being so open. You know, this is all the stats, and also giving us some insights in your market research. Really impressive. So really appreciate that. And then, you know, for a salesman, you give a lot of operational information. So you must have an operational background there as well. So I'd like to open the floor to questions. Anybody have a pressing, immediate question on this design that Seven Senders has presented and laid out to you? Don't be shy. There we go. We got a question here. Could you also state your company, please?
Sure. Hi, I'm Floris. I'm from Coolblue, an electronic.
Sorry, I can't hear that.
No, you have to.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Can you hear me now? Cool. Floris Blauboer from Coolblue, an consumer electronic e-commerce company in the Netherlands. I was actually wondering, you said that in Switzerland the last mile was pretty holy, which I
you read it. That's good. Yeah.
which I understood as Pudos are not as much of an option there, but it's
Yeah.
really the at-home delivery.
Yeah.
Do you see those differences in other countries in Europe? And what's most prominent where?
Yeah, so it's a good topic. So for sure, every country is different. Yeah. Switzerland for us has always been very specific. And if I say holy, and I look to Luca, our partner, I wanted to write it, but I don't like to write names on slides. But for sure, Switzerland is very much Swiss Post owned. Yeah. So the Swiss love their Swiss Post. But there's also great solutions like QuickPack from MS Direct or daughter company. They focus on green delivery. So the market is opening a bit. DPD also plays a role. But I don't want to say a wrong number, but Switzerland is probably at like 80, 90% Swiss Post owned, parcel, e-commerce. And the drop-off points don't play too much of a role. There has been a company, or is a company called Packly.punkt, which had a great uplift a few years ago. It's not that in everyone's mouth anymore. So I would say if you rank the countries, I would personally say Switzerland as Pudos is not the first country I would try it. Maybe also because the Swiss are not that sensitive to spendings. So if you would tell a Swiss person, you pay 5 extra Swiss francs for home and 0 for Pudo, they're going to do the 5. So it's like black and white. Yeah. There are specific Pudo countries that are like Scandinavia. It's like running on 80% Pudo. Poland is very big in Pudo with InPost, a great company. You have France. I have seen customers actually doing 60% Pudo in France. Our average customer has between 15 and 30. It depends on how much you push it. And then you have Spain is okay with Pudos. And then it's the question how much you push and how much you want it. But we have seen a lot of clients who just struggle with integration. I don't know if anyone has ever tried to implement Mondial Relais, great partner of ours. If you want to integrate that in your web front end, it's not easy. So integrating and seeing the result belongs a bit together. If no one offers it, Pudo rates will slow down. There is one, I make it short, like one more answer. There's one other important figure, and the guys from Zalando are really good at that. It's the question of stickiness. So if you convince a customer for the first time, however you do it, to get a parcel to a Pudo, the question is, will it stick? Because maybe the experience was so great that he will stick it. And more important is if you look at, it's hard to get these numbers, if you try to understand in which country is the Pudo stickiness the highest.
Yeah. Maybe I love your question, Floris, because it can also be you're experimenting a lot with Coolblue, different distribution models, right? And then you're probably one of the most advanced in all of the retail world in this one. So maybe you can elaborate a little on what you have tried at Coolblue. So just reversing the question back into you with your experience into Pudos. Could you say a few words on that?
Yeah, sure. I think actually on Pudos we don't do that much yet. Our experimentation is a bit more doing everything ourselves, which we think we can do better than someone else. So for example, all bulky goods delivery we do ourselves. And parcel delivery we have our own cargo bikes, which does. Yeah. Of course we do the inner cities, and everything else we leave to our gracious partners who do delivery there. But Pudo is an area which we're looking at. I'm responsible for the returns area, and I find the Pudo bit quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, for the returns, it's something for us. We would even say it's a no-brainer. The outbound is more difficult, but I had a talk earlier to someone, also a big sports shop, Germany. You can save so much money if you have a lot of Pudo return options. Yeah, because there are differences, and you can also make your customers happy to offer certain Pudo providers or a variety in certain parts of the country. So when we talk to ASOS, I don't think they actually do a country under 2 Pudo options return. And I have seen them on the way to implementing up to 4 or 5. And how cool is that as a customer living in a big country if you can choose between 5 poodle providers. If you then don't find a poodle next to your home, then you're living really remote.
And then maybe there's a couple of elements into that. How strong is the incumbent, right? So sometimes there's a certain cultural aspect to it, like we see in Switzerland, that it's very sticky the other way around, right? So there's a couple of aspects that you can model through with some of the countries that are really not open to it. I think Poland is a good example where you have a very high density with regards to PUDOs, partly because the incumbent was doing pretty lame job, and secondly because they find a very efficient and economical solution within Post, right? So you can see that it is also very much on the existing market dynamics, how much traction you can get on PUDO deliveries in there. Question here.
Bulky goods were just mentioned, and we have a lot of customer questions about PUDO solutions, especially in Scandinavia and France, as you mentioned. And we always struggle because we have quite a lot of bulky goods. And do you have experience what can be offered at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask how bulky how bulky is bulky?
It's around 300 centimeters square.
Okay.
Width.
So we do really anything. So we do anything from perfume or glasses. Customers here in the audience like glasses, but we also do a West Wing. They do furniture and two-man handling. We do that for them. We do Thomann, Europe's biggest online shop for music instruments. So we really don't care. We always try to find the right carrier. So to Switzerland, it can be a mix of Camion and the Swiss Post. And in other countries, different. If you bring it together with PUDO, it gets a bit more difficult. But if you look at Mondiarelli in France, they have like this XL thing, where you can really bring really huge parcels to PUDOs. What normally does not work is bulk and parcel lockers. But parcel lockers is a different thing again. It's a bit more complicated also tech-wise. If I don't want to say anything wrong, I would really say you have to go country by country, but it's definitely still underdeveloped. Because you take a lot of space away in the PUDO, exactly. Right? Yeah. But we believe that this will become bigger and bigger simply by the cost function. And we always believe over time cost function always wins. So if online shops can't afford a home anymore, you have to find a cheaper solution.
And of course, it's also not so easy for the customer when you have, for example, more than one parcel, or if it's a very big parcel. Yeah. It's not that easy anymore if you stop by to get
100%. So there's also like, I don't want to the numbers had to be in a way presentable, right? For sure, if you take this out-of-home sustainability thing, the whole formula collapses if the person drives with a Porsche SUV to the PUDO and lets the engine run. I mean, then
all right.
That's why it has to be dense and close to your home. Yeah.
Exactly.
We have time for one final question. Anyone here? Well, it was a long day. I understand. You're looking a little bit tired. Oh, we get one more question. You saved my day, right? And that's the final question. So,
Luca, don't mess it up.
No, actually, it's not a question, but I wanted to make. Thanks, Thomas, for the statement. I really loved your statement. Buy online to save the planet. So I'll keep this in mind.
No, it's a really cool study. It's called. I have it in the footnote. It's called E-commerce to Save Europe or something by Oliver Wyman. It's really cool. And just read it. It's very very detailed. It's rather like a doctor thesis. But buy online to save the planet. I'm very convinced after you read that.
Thanks, Thomas, for that.
Okay. Well, that concludes it for this session. So thanks a lot, Thomas Hageman, for leading us through a fantastic journey of 7 senders. It's a journey that is still going on, and I learn a lot also about what you have explained in the differentiation of cost and how you can analyze that, and sort of also use that for predicting the future. And this is where the trend will be going. So that has been very elaborate and very insightful. So pretty sure we will see you more and more, learn more from 7 senders. You got a great stand here at the ePath. So don't, if you have forgot something or didn't dare to ask now, please do visit their stand. That concludes also with 2 final remarks that I would like to make. If you're a retailer, you have the opportunity to vote for the best suppliers in the different domains.
Great.
Right? Don't do the advertising. You know, if you're the best according to your clients, right? So please do that. Give them also that opportunity to shine, and we will do the award ceremony tomorrow afternoon. We have one final session in the plenary session. If you have registered, that will start at 7. You will see me there again on stage. So please join. For the ones that have registered and contemplate, should I be going there? There's a glass of champagne for you to ease the day a little bit. And then we have a party from 8 o'clock onwards where you all are invited. So happy to see you somewhere during the evening or during tomorrow. And again, a big round of applause for Thomas Hageman.
Thanks.